So I've said for a while that sooner or later farmers are going to have their day when it comes to, shall we say, their moment in the Brexit spotlight where they get all the attention. Just as we saw at the very start of this year, fishermen get a lot of attention from their problems that they were facing. And bear in mind, those problems have still not been fixed. The reason why they're not getting mentioned is because pretty much nothing's changed for them. It is still just as bad as it was back in January for them. And their troubles will continue for some time to come. However, of course, as we said, for farmers, their situation was more different. By that point, they'd already made their sales, they'd already done all their stuff they needed to do, and they were starting a new year. And already, just a couple of months back, we saw the first initial couple of stories of farmers saying, hey, we haven't got enough people to come and pick our fruit. That was the first lot. You will see coming up again to harvest season again soon, we will have farmers yet again saying, we haven't got enough people to harvest the fields. There is an explosion at the moment of that there are too many pigs in the UK, which is causing severe problems, again linked to Brexit. And soon, when farmers really come, this is where it will really kick in for them, is when companies can't buy their produce. That's when we will really start to see farmers kick off. And I implore farmers, if you hate at the moment what the government is doing and how literally the government is destroying you, then I urge you, go and look at what the French farmers do and copy what they do, because trust me, the government will pay attention to you very, very quickly. So, before we do jump into today's article today, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do watch and support the channel that way. So, on with today's story. So, this comes from The Conversation. And the title is, I'm a sheep and cattle farmer in England, and Brexit has left farmers in fear for their future. You either love him or you hate him. But Jeremy Clarkson's documentary series about trying to get to grips with sheep rearing, tractor driving, and running a farm shop in a diddly squat farm has certainly found an audience. As someone who lives and works on a family farm and experiences the very harsh realities shown in the show, I have found it enjoyable and relatable. Clarkson's farming efforts were rewarded with a mere £142 in his first year. He did break the bank, of course, with a Lamborghini tractor, and his crop yield was hit by unusually severe weather. But it gives a sense of just how hard it is making money in farming. Our 250-acre upland farm in West Yorkshire is an average size for this part of England. In meadows and the rough grazing land, we run over around 60 herds of suckler beef cattle and around 100 breeding ewes. The farm is run by my 68-year-old father and my younger brother and myself. They do the bulk of the work with the animals, and I oversee the administrative duties while studying for a PhD in rural entrepreneurship, focusing on the challenges farmers in the beef and the sheep sector, and they face new types of business strategies that they are trying to use in order to respond. At the farm, we've always been busy, and especially when making hay when the sun shines, shearing the sheep, carving and spending considerable amounts of time in form filling, complying with the government red tape. But we have been incredibly lucky to try and isolate ourselves in this stunning countryside during COVID lockdowns. But, like many farmers, we're very worried about how Brexit is going to affect our industry. UK farmers are currently transitioning away from the EU Common Agricultural Policy, or CAP, as the UK's basic payment scheme is phased out over the next several years will affect over thousands of claiming farms from year 2020, and some farms will be able to apply for the new pilot scheme for the new grants known as the Environmental Land Management Schemes, or the ELM, which will be meant to be introduced properly in, of course, 2024. However, it's not clear how comparable this money will actually be. And to them I say, well, just look at what happened to the New Town Development Fund compared with the EU Development Grant. Doesn't even come close, so don't expect the government to, shall we say, replace those fees. Despite the long phase-out period, the transition is already seriously affecting farmers already. Though it varies with farm size, farmers will receive roughly 10% less from the current scheme in 2021 than the year before, with almost half of basic scheme payments will be gone by 2024. This is really frightening when you realise that the EU subsidies can compromise up to 90% of farmers' annual business income. Our farms rely on subsidies for around 75% of our income, with the rest coming from selling livestock and property letting. Upland farmers in 2020 received an average annual income of just £22,000, nearly £10,000 below what the median earnings for the UK are. Some farmers, in such as those in the dairy or even the poultry, can earn 3 or 4 times more, but everyone will be worried about their future. The ELM will reward farmers for being environmentally sustainable with their land through sustainable farming and helping the recovery of local wildlife and, of course, natural landscapes. The English Environmental Secretary, George Eustace, recently told the industry, "Let's not cling to the railings of the sinking ship that is the CAP." But the question is, what is coming instead? At our farm, we receive payments under various existing agricultural environmental schemes to encourage biodiversity, and we are paid to create ponds, nesting areas for wildlife, for example, and of course cutting our grass later in the year for haymaking. If the ELMs are anything like these schemes, it is very hard to actually be optimistic. They have provided us with income for land from which it would have otherwise been difficult to profit from, but not without its problems. For instance, the issue with our satellite mapping date back at least 10 years to the deduction of at least £8,000 from our payment in just 1 year, in just 8 months. And as Jeremy Clarkson recently said, the UK government is unnecessarily bureaucratic with farmers. Having seen the stress of such situations firsthand, not to mention the cut to the subsidies and isolation in farming, I don't find it surprising that many farmers suffer from mental health issues. A recent survey found that 450 farmers under the age of 40 found that 88% viewed mental health as easily the biggest challenge facing them. Something that is also coming up in my research too is that other research has also confirmed high stress and high suicide rates. COVID, in my view, has amplified these difficulties. During lockdown, when many people visited rural areas for their daily permitted walk, farmers grew worried about the disease that could spread to their communities. This made sense when you reflect the average age of the farmer is around 59, and estimated 90% of the farmers are owned and occupied by a single person. Poor broadband also on many farms is also made lockdown harder. When rural socials and events open up, like Open Farm Sunday went online, many farmers couldn't take part, which exacerbated their isolation. Our farm has only largely survived in recent years because of the current system that favours us. The basic payment scheme has benefited farmers like ourselves who own land, and our farm has fit well with the existing environmental schemes, and hopefully will continue to do so under these new ELMs. It also helps that the farm has had very few liabilities when my father inherited it. But for many other farming enterprises, the transition to ELMs may see them fail. Farmers are currently trying to prepare by diversifying into everything from tourism to wind energy. Others are turning to careers elsewhere. I'm actually one of them, aiming to try and move into shaping agricultural policy after completing my doctoral research. The government is going to offer struggling farmers a, quote, lump sum exit scheme. Some may actually take it up, but it will depend on how much they are offered. A decent offer is nothing less than they actually deserve. It also might free up some of the land with the new entrants with entrepreneurial ambitions to try and take over their land. A new generation of younger farmers might be able to make more money through direct selling via shop and creating brands around their farm products, particularly if broadband connectivity were improved so that they could build online businesses. But given the enormous financial challenges and of course the mental health difficulties that farmers face and other tough issues such as flooding, it's difficult to know if a new entrant will come. All in all, the future of UK farming is even more uncertain than anyone has ever seen it before. And that's, again, the situation that most farmers are now in. The removal of the, again, European Common Agricultural Policy is going to have a massive effect on farmers and especially the money that they receive. And like I say, the guy's expecting that the government here is somehow going to replace the money that they got from the Common Agricultural Policy. Not going to happen. We've already seen that happen with business development funding and grants to develop new towns. That, the Yorkshire itself has lost over £1 billion worth of funding and is being replaced with a literal paltry 200 million. Again, sounds like a lot of money to you or I, but when you're talking investing in an area or even a country, that's nothing compared to what we got from the EU. And I'd say to most of these farmers, and again, the guy who wrote this article, you need to look what the French farmers do and start copying them. Maybe the government might actually start to pay attention to you. But of course, as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee. So thanks for watching and we'll see you all next time.